हेलो गाइस, सो वेलकम बैक। सो आज मैं लाइक पैंडस पे बात करूँगा. इट्स लाइक अ वेरी important library for data frames and for a structure like for table data, right? So usually क्या होता है, you have most of the time data in this format, right? I'll just open it for you. So uh, and this video will be specifically towards the problem that I've given you on Kaggle, right? I'll also give the Kaggle link in the description, so अगर किसी को उसके बारे में नहीं पता है, so they can see that. So majorly when you have data in this format, like a tabled format, that you have columns, you have rows, and you have something with some values present in some are not, right? Kind of this kind of data, like I need to warp it just here. So this kind of data. So when you have some specific values and so yeah, so it's kind of like this data. When you have some kind of columns, when you have some kind of rows, and you have some elements missing, right? So right now I'm on Linux, and like LibreOffice does not have a good warping option, so यहाँ पे सही तरीके से नहीं दिख रहा है, बट नेवरदलेस. सो एक्चुअली व्हाट इट इज़ हैपनिंग हियर कि बहुत सारी वैल्यूज़ मिसिंग है एंड सिर्फ कुछ जगह पे वैल्यूज़ हैं, राइट? लेट्स से हेयर एंड यहाँ पे या फिर यहाँ पे, राइट? सो अकॉर्डिंग टू दैट इज़ बेसिकली दैट कि यहाँ पे एक्चुअली हो क्या रहा है कि यहाँ पे एक टाइटल है दैट इज़ अ न्यूज़ आर्टिकल, यहाँ पे उसका टेक्स्ट है, एंड यहाँ पे उसके कोरस्पॉन्डिंगली जो डेटा पॉइंट्स हैं, लाइक लेट्स से लाइक जो फीचर्स हैं, लेट्स से योर रीज़न फॉर दैट मर्डर हैपन, या अगर उसमें मर्डर है या नहीं, अगर उस आर्टिकल में मर्डर के बारे में मेंशन है तो उसका रीज़न क्या था वो यहाँ पे मेंशन है, राइट? सो ऑन. सो दिस काइंड ऑफ डेटा इज़ देयर, राइट? So this is kind of a representation of a tabular data or table data, right? Yeah, this is much better. So kind of you can see here, like this is majorly a very sparse data which we call about, right? कि जहाँ पे ज़्यादातर columns missing है, column या cells missing है, right? So I won't be going through like the problem statement right now in this video, but I'll take you through pandas and how it helps in visual and basically handling this kind of data, right? So majorly I have written, like I have not done a lot of made a specific IPython notebook for this, but let's make it on the go, right? So first thing that comes to my mind when learning any new library. So for me, let's say pandas is a new library. So what can I do? So first thing that I can do is to go over these kind of pandas cheat sheets, right? I gave you the links of the documentation, and you might not have gone through it, or you might have gone through it. They are like just an introduction to a library. So these are cheat sheets. Now these cheat sheets doesn't contain everything, nor they are full, like you can say they contain every command, but they can tell you just an overview of how a library is there, right? So we will just take into account multiple cheat sheets, and we will see like what specific you can say commands are required to go through a library. Now the point is, you don't need to learn every command of every library, but it's just that the command which are very frequent are required, like you should be knowing that these commands exist, right, in this library, so that when next time you come through like a problem statement or something, you can just utilize it, or you know where to Google for, right, for that command, right? So first that I'm going through is this cheat sheet. This is a very, like you can say, a good cheat sheet from DataCamp, right? So like obviously uh, importing pandas in PD. So why I explained this logic like in the previous video, that whenever we are importing some library, we try to use a shortcut like as PD for that, and this is very like popular in with pandas library itself, like okay. So when you're trying to, like, even this is even not for this pandas only. Whenever you're trying to import any library which are like having more than 10 or so characters, and it will be used frequently, then try to import it as like kind of a shorthand notation, right? I try to import it like as a uh, you can say DF here. So my preferred notation is DF, but PD is also fine. Import pandas as PD, right? Now the first thing that comes to my mind is what is data frame or what is series, right? So as I can say, like when you're representing a table structure, so a data frame is just like when you have put that table into you can say you can say a data structure. That is what data frame is, right? It's just a two-dimensional label data structure, right? You have got columns, you have got indexes, and you have got the data, right? This is what basically a data frame is. Series, on the other hand, is just like a vector. We don't usually use series because we have got NumPy to use when we have vector, or we can use other kind of list to use them. Because series is has like a problem when you make functions with data frame and series. They have different kind of like functionalities to use for. So we don't use series that much, right? So another point to note in data frame is that indexes can be anything. Like here it is 0, 1, 2. It can be ABCD. It can be like let's say alpha, beta, gamma, whatever you want, right? It can be any symbol. It can be any string. It can be any number, right? 0, 1, 2 is the default because when you're loading the data, 0, 1, 2 gets loaded. Similar for the columns. It can be anything, a float, or it can be a string. But when you are importing, either you import the original original columns from the data set that you have in .csv file or .excel file, or either you just give them the columns yourself. Like as you can see, they have like created a data here, right? And then they have given the columns themselves. So they are creating a data frame for themselves, right? Like creating it organically. But most of the time we'll be importing our data frame from a CSV file or Excel file. Like you won't be doing this kind of like this kind of manual work. One of the most important thing is to initialize a empty data frame, right? So empty data frame can be just quickly done. Like I'll just show you here, right? So most of the time it is very easy to So most of the time you don't even need to give anything. It will just initialize an empty data frame here. So when you are unsure of whether you will be having data after some time or you will not having data right now, you just need to have an empty data frame. You can use this kind of command, right? And you will face the situation often, like with large amount of data. So this is how a data frame is and how you can use it, right? Now before that we will go through importing, right? Right. So when you have the data frame, right? So when you want to improve the data frame, as I said, like df to cs, like when you are reading something, right? So pd.read csv. When you have in a CSV file format or an Excel file format, you will read the data frame directly, right? So let's say pd is a pandas that you that you specified as pd, and .read underscore csv is the function for that. Now the point here is, you can specify how much data you want to import. Let's say you want to import the full data, you want to import like a small amount of it, or you want to utilize the index of the original CSV file, or you don't want to utilize it. You want to header here means like the name of the columns, whether you want the name of the columns here or not, right? So when I'm specifying header none, so I'm specifying that the columns would not be imported. Like, so that means that there is no header present in the file, and the column and the pandas will treat that the Excel file does not contain any name of the columns, right? So it will assign them automatically, right? So this is one of the ways. When you're writing back, like when you're done with your own, like you can say all manipulation, pre-processing and whatnot, you will just save that CSV file like through this command, right? Here there are also other options like header none. You can choose not to save the header, not save the index, and all these things, right? So if you want to search for more of them, you can just go through their own documentation, like let's say to CSV, right? Pandas. This is as simple as that, and you can come here and you will be able to see the documentation. Now don't be scared by this all what is being written or not. What you want to read is about what is here, what are the parameters it means, right? So I know that paths that I want to specify, so I specified here a path, right? So this is the path, right? Don't care about separators, like usually .csv file have a separator or that all, that is not very important. What we are important is here header. So what does header do? That it's default true, and what does it do? Write out the column names. If a list of string is given, it is assumed to be aliases for the column names. That means that by default it is true, and that it will write out the column names, right, to the CSV file. Now if I give out header to be false, none of the column name will not be transferred to the this my dataframe.csv file. So this is the way how you can play with the functions that you already have, right? So writing read and write to Excel file and all these things are just the similar execution, just the names are different, right? Another thing to consider is like sheet name, right? So many times you have CSV files having multiple sheet names, so sheet name can also be specified like this here or like in any function, so that you can use them, right? Also like write and read ignore this, like this SQL is not that important right now. After that we will come like, first you have imported the data, right? After importing the data, right, what happens is so after you have imported the data, what happens is you need to drop some columns, right? So as you can see, I showed you this like this CSV, right? So I want to drop this column that I'm not very sure how much. So I want to drop this column because title does not help me in any way the analysis that I'm going to do, right? So I want to drop this column. So the proper way is to use this, right? So the proper way to is used to use s dot drop and all, right? S dot drop and the column name. Now you can specify multiple column names and all, but and you can also drop some you can say rows and rows from this also. So dropping means that you are removing entire rows or columns from it. Now if you don't specify any axis, that means x is equal to 0 and values will be dropped from rows. If you have x is equal to 1, drop values will be from columns. Now just take some time and remember this, that whenever you are working with pandas, axis 0 will mean rows and axis 1 will mean columns. This is whenever pandas is implemented, this is true for all their functions, right? So dropping, merging, you can say mapping or whatever functions that you're going to use in the future, this is going to be present for that, right? So take care of this. Now this is not very much required because this does not have that much functionality to it. Rather than doing just simple Google search will give you more options to it. Sorting and ranking, this is a very important feature. Now you can sort by different columns or row like features, right? So sort index, what does it do? It sort by labels along an axis, right? It just sort by normal sorting like 0, 1, 2, which you have labels upon, right? So if I compare this with CSV, so I have these labels, right? So it will just form a normal sorting as how the data has been imported currently. So that's how it will sort. Next thing, sort by value. So I want to sort by some specific column. Let's say I want to sort by let's say this the reasons, right? So all reasons which are empty will go like downwards, and all the money disputes will come upwards, and love affairs and all that things, right? So these things can be done by specifying by and the name of that column, right? Now df.rank, it basically ranks the entries. Now this is not used that much, so let's just leave it. When you are facing that specific problem, you will be able to easily Google for that. Right, now after dropping the values that you want and all, we get to the point like how can we access some element, right? So when we are working with a data frame, we have the option to get a subset of data frame, right? And I don't recommend this way of using it because it like hinders with all your lists and your strings, right? You can get confused with them. I would recommend using by these things, either iloc or iat, loc, at, and all these things, right? This gives you a lot of liberty to use, and you can this also like you can say give you a good amount of document, like the reader can understand the code very well from that. So what does iloc do? Iloc is basically you can say I comma j type of things. Like I have got a matrix and I will access I comma 0 from that, like I comma j from that. So that is iloc, right? This is single value by row and column. That is simple I comma j, right? Here I means the row number and j means the column number. So I at or iloc are basically by possession, ij, right? By label. Now many times when we are accessing some element from it, we know the row of it. Let's say we are running a loop for all the data frame, so we know that we have an I which will vary from for all the rows of the data frame, but we don't know the specific what you call the index, like the index for this label, that country, like I don't know the index for this, right? I know that if I'm going to import, it will be 2, 0, 1 and 2, right? But let's say I don't know that. So what I would do is I would give this I would give the name of this column and I would give out the name of the number of the row, right? So this is by label. By accessing label of the you can say the column, we are able to access the data, right? So these two are used very frequently, and most of the time you will have like you will be deciding whether to use this or this. So it's just that if you're knowing the index of that label, it's kind of a similar deal, right? On the backend, the pandas is doing the same thing. It's trying to get the index of this and will be implementing ilog at the end. So if you know that, it's very well. If you don't know that, this is good as well, right? I at an 80, like this, these kind of are the similar, and there's like a very minute difference in them. So so let's just leave it for that. They have like when you are dealing with the categorical data and all, they give some kind of problems, but let's leave it to that. Now, by label in possession, so let's say I want to access all the values, right? So all the values can be accessed like in this sense by using colon, right? Colon means that here I specified as like a single value for it, right? But if I want, I can specify like all the values like by using the colon, that as I specified in the list, right? From 0 to all, like the whole length of the list was there. So similar for the data frame when I'm using this kind of structure. Okay. Now I'll be giving you a demonstration how these will work. So let's leave it to that. Also, when you're having a specific, so what happens is, let's say you want to have a subset of the data frame, right? So I want to have all the columns in which there is some kind of crime against women. This is not zero. When I'm like, this is not null or this is not zero, right? So I want to have that kind of condition. So when I'm going to have a Boolean indexing, what does it mean is that I'll have df here. I'll have to I'll get the subset of something with a condition here, right? So this is kind of the syntax for that, right? So df and this is the condition that column has some condition on it. So for me it would be that this column has condition that this is not equal to null. I'll put it here, I'll put df outside, and I'll get a data frame, a subset of data frame which is having all these values together. This, like specifically this and this, right? So this would be there. Now let's go back to that. Yeah. Now you can also set like index of like all these things, but it doesn't even matter. Most of the time we'll be using a default index or a default setting. So what important is to take from here is like you have to take position and by label, and these two things you need to take care of that at the most, right? And you can index by using semicolon when if you're trying to have the whole index, right? Also like let's say when you're having with the so simple arithmetic operation. So what happens is, as I said, there are a lot of values present, right? So there are a lot of empty values present. Like majorly when you import data frame in this format, you will get a null here, right? But if you want to fill it with zeros, you have something called fill values 0. So this can directly be used here, right? When you are importing something to read CSV, this can directly be used here, right? If you go into the documentation of read CSV, you will get that, right? I'm just showing you what is important for that. So let's just leave it to that. Other ways to like specify is to add like how can you fill. So I'm currently filling with 0 because being absent, specify like being absent on that frame, specify that there is nothing for in that article, like there was no crime committed, there was no crime of any sort in that article, right? Other ways would be like division, sub multiplication, ease addition, like it would take the mean of all of it and then fill it. So these are the ways of some filling the data, right? So don't like go into this, but there are some ways. You just need to understand that. Now, a very important thing to understand here is that when you got a data frame, right? One of the ways to understand the data is to go through the CSV file that I'm currently doing through you, like this. Other way is to like use these kind of functions that they have. So like you can use df.shape. So df.shape gives you how many rows and how many columns are present. Like df.index tells you like if there is some kind of index missing, or if there is like what kind of index that they have. Usually you'll be seeing the indexes just like numbers, right? Now df.columns, right? Now specifically df.columns, right? When you are working with df.columns, it just gives you the name of all the columns present, right? df.info gives you the info on the data frame, right? df.count gives you the number of non-NA values. So this is very important to use. Like this, and this. These three are used a lot when you are working with data frames, right? I'll try to give you a quick outlook after this, how they are being used. Now df.sum, df.sum is not that used. CumSum, like these are just CumSum is basic cumulative sum, and they are not used that much. df.min, df.max. What is used is idx.min, like what index at which the minimum or maximum is present, right? Because if I get the maximum or minimum at the index, I can get the whole data point for that, and I can see like what is the difference between this data point and the other data points that is present, right? df.describe is another important tool, right? This is very important, not tool, but it's just a function. This gives you summary statistics for the whole data frame. This is too important, like very important, right? And df.main, df.median, these, like this is also used very frequently, but majorly this is used in a huge amount, right? So I have gone through the basic data camp kind of what they give out. So I'll be giving you a simple execution of what basically I meant by the commands, right? So there might be some kind of noise on the back end, like when I'm speaking. So please ignore that if possible. Okay, so I've done importing, right? I have just told you like how to create a, not very sure like what is happening here. Yeah, okay, so my Jupyter notebook is not working, and yeah, so no problem, I'll just run it again. Yeah, so it's just taking some time. Let's wait for how much time it will take. Let's leave it to that. So another cheat sheet that is present with us is like data quest, right? So I won't be going through all the things that I've covered there, right? These things are not very important. Important data I've covered, right? We have covered like import. We have covered how to import, right? We have covered how to export through to CSV, right? There are a lot of ways to export data, right? And they're even more present here. They're just not mentioned it. It's just that you don't need to know all of them. You just need to know one of it, and you just need to know that you can do other things also. Now, creating test object, how you can create a data frame. So as I said, you can create an empty data frame. You can also specify values to create it, and all these things, right? Or you can also import it, right? Now, viewing data. So one of the things that this kind of data camp missed is how you can utilize how you can visualize that, like inspect the data, right? So one way that I said is like using that your df.describe, right? Another way to use it is like df.head. So first of all, most of the time, if you go to if you are able to understand pandas, you should not visualize the data anyhow in the CSV file, right? Like advanced users of pandas don't do that. They just go through this .head, and this will display the first n rows of the data frame, right? So for me, having that kind of data is more than sufficient, right? Another thing to note is that you can also have value counts, right? Which was not present in the earlier cheat sheet. So what does value count means? It gives you the proper unique values and how much count is present for that, right? I'll tell you more about this, right? So yeah, let's just wait a second. I'm not very sure. So yeah. This is very important, value counts, right? Another thing is to as I said, selection. So yeah, so it's not right now working. This took some time. Another thing is to have this iLock or lock on all. This is as I said, these are for selections. When you're data cleaning, this is a very important kind of area. So let's just focus on it. We have df.columns. which is basically we get the df.columns, right? So we can rename the columns specifically like this. So df.columns gives you the columns, and you can also specify like this to change the column names, right? You have got is null, like you can check is there any null values present, right? You can also check is there not null values present. You can also drop the values which are null specifically by using this. You can also, like as I also said, you can also use it here when you are reading the CSV file, but still you can use this function also, right? Now again, as I said, x is 0 and x is 1, so it drops all the rows that contain null values, it drops all the columns that contain null values. For us, we want to drop, we don't want to drop anything, we just want to fill them, right? So none of these functions are good for us, right? So this is very complex function which is not used that much. df.fillNA x is very useful because most of the time it will be used like this. So when you want to fill NA by like the null value, you'll just specify like null. If you want to fill it by 0, you'll specify 0x, like x is equal to 0, like kind of this. Another thing, you can also fill by mean, right? So many times what happens is when you are working with data, sometimes you want to fill with mean, median or mode. So these kind of things can be used with df.fillNA, right? Now you can convert here into float. Now this function is really important, right? As type float. So you can convert into float, int, and you can say string, object, and all those things, right? And this is very important because let's say I've got this data, right? Number of which is the reasons 4,7. Now if I'm going to import this will be a string to me, 4,7, because it's not integer, it's not float, so by default it's string. Now when I'll try to decompose it, right? Decompose in the sense I'll make two columns for it, 4 and 7, right? Then the 4 will still remain a string. So I have to convert, like if I want to convert it into a, you can say integer or float, I can use this. I can just define df.sFloat, and that means that I'm trying to make it like that whole column as a specific, I'm trying to change the type of that column. I'll give you a very simple example of it, right? Now replace. Now replace is very useful. It replaces a specific instance of it with other. So fillNA just fills empty values, right? Replace can also be used in this sense, but it has a very different way of using also. Like we can use a specific value and you can replace with that, right? It can be used with multiple values. Let's say 1 for 1 and 3 for 3. You can specify it all at once and you can replace with them. Now rename. You can also rename the columns, right? This is a very specific way of using it. As you said, like as I said, like df.columns can be used in this way, renaming columns by specifying, by just initializing them df.columns. Another way is to use the df.rename type of structure, right? Now df.setIndex, df.rename, like as I said, this is very useful, df.rename. I'll give you a very simple example. Like most of the time df.rename is used to set the columns or df or index, right? Usually you'll just reset index or set index, right? So it changes the index itself. You don't use rename for that. What you use is rename for columns, right? As I said, sort, like having a condition, you can get a subset of the data frames, right? You can have multiple conditions, sort values, and you can say ascending, like sort values for a specific by a specific column, ascending, like you can sort by decreasing by in the way of decreasing, or you can also have like multiple sort by multiple columns. So what happens is in Excel sheet, what you do is like you sort, like select by this. If I'm selecting all of it, I go here, and when I'm going to sort, it will ask me which type of sort keys, and either ascending or by decreasing by the priority, right? So same thing can be done in the pandas, right? It can just sort by you can specify the number of columns and you can just define the priority for that, right? Yeah. So group by are not used that much, right? So they are not used that much, but yes, when you are dealing with visualization in pandas, they are used a lot, right? What does it do? It basically group by different unique values which are present in a column. So if I go over here and if I want to plot like this, so I'll just group by this column, right? So I'll get the number of cases which have money dispute, number of cases by love affairs, and all those things, and I can easily plot through a bar plot or other things, right? That is df.group by. That is simple. You don't need to go into much detail like aggregate means or those things. Those things can be done easily by normal loops, I would guess, if you are beginner in this. Now df.apply. this is very important, right? What does df dot apply to? It applies a function across each column or each row, right? Access 0 or 1 defines whether you want to take through. Access 0 means row and access 0 equal to means like all these things, columns, right? So what happens is, if I take this into consideration, I want to like apply that if there are any mapping that I want to take. Mapping in the sense, let's say money dispute represent 4, right? And I want to substitute 4 here itself. So I'll have a map here which I'll try to apply on the df, on this, no, on the df, right? So that mapping, what it will say, if the value in the cell is money dispute, it will change to that, right? I'll give you an example of this too, right? Join is a very basic, like you can say a very basic kind of command. Join or combine, like we use concat majorly, that we have two different data frames and we either combine by x is equal to 1, x is equal to 0. X is equal to 1 means that we are combining, like adding the columns side by side, right? Columns in df1 to the end of df2, right? Rows should be identical, right? Kind of that. So that differs by x is equal to 1, x is equal to 0. You just need to take care that when you're trying to join it, you will use concat, right? So this is used, you can say, a fairly in large problem set having a large amount of data, but not in our case. Now statistic, as I said, df.describe and df.core and df.count. Like here it comes at df.core. So df.correlation is very important. Like how can you have like between correlation between different columns in a data frame, right? So for us it is not that meaningful because we don't have multiple correlation between columns. But when you have data set having multiple features, let's say of more than 60 or 70, right, then df.core is used, and we try to eliminate features having high correlation because that adds redundancy to the data set. We will do more of it like in the next week's problem statement, that is more or less based on df.core and kind of how to eliminate data set and how to train models on that. So we'll just use that. So df.min, df.standard deviation, and this is what we have, right? This is the median and standard deviation that we can train from. So I'll just pause it here and I'll just continue in the next video, right?